Did you know that more than 20 states currently have legislation either pending or awaiting their respective governor's signatures right now, which would limit protesters' right to protest? Now, in some case, it has to do with restricting their access to public lands. In another case, it proposes basically a number of different penalties for restricting movement or in other ways hindering people's rights to do their job. Now, there are a couple of different issues here. First and foremost, any time that a person is protesting something where they are blocking other people from their own private property, I think that that's wrong. I mean, what happens on private property is a private individual or corporation's own deal. I mean, seriously, to think that you don't like what somebody else is doing on their lands, you're going to go and block them from doing it because you don't think that they have a right to, that is wrong. I don't care what it is that they're doing unless what they're doing is actually killing people, or in other way, you're talking about going and stopping somebody from committing a rape or a robbery or whatever. I think that you have a right to interfere in that case. But to go and protest something because you disagree with it, I mean, we're entering into this realm of where do your preferences end and another person's rights begin. However, to have the government step in and say it is illegal for you to protest something, I think that that's another level of, well, it's restriction of our right to free speech, right? Isn't it? And to think that we've already, as Americans, we've already given in to so many other restrictions on our rights, including the right to free speech. Think about it. If you go to protest at a state building or at for instance, a federal building, like a federal courthouse, did you know that you can be arrested for trespassing by being on public ground if you're not in a so-called free speech zone? How is it free speech if it's restricted to just a few feet that they say, well, this is where you can protest and over here you can't? And yet people are submitting to it as if somehow it's okay. I was actually involved in a tax protest back in, 2011, maybe 2012, in which we marched over to the federal building and protested, and somebody came out and told us we would have to leave because we were trespassing. Most of the crowd began to disperse. A few of us stayed there on the steps of the building to make our point. But then, who of us actually, I think one person went inside to try to make the point even more vehemently. And I don't know, that threat of being put in a cage or even, let's take it to its logical extension. If they have a right to put you in a cage for it, they also have a right to kill you for it. That's what the bottom line is of where government force comes from, is that they'll take it to whatever extreme they want to based on whatever they think the interpretation of the law is. One of the new laws being considered, I believe in North Dakota, actually gives a car driver the right to drive over a protester if that protester's in their way. It's disturbing to me to look at where we're headed right now. We already have to have our papers in order if we go out of the house. There's legislation pending to make it so that if you are even a passenger in a car, if a policeman pulls you over, you have to provide identification to that police officer for being out in public. It's disturbing to me. And if it's not disturbing to you, then, well, I don't know. I guess maybe I've got some strong words for you. You are not upholding American values. If you think it's okay for people to have to carry identification papers with you, you are a Nazi. If you think it's okay for people to be restricted from having a protest, you're completely ignoring the Bill of Rights. The very First Amendment, that idea of having the right to peaceably assemble. And we're not talking about riots here. We're not talking about causing damage to other people's private property. We're not talking about killing people or injuring people. Just simply the right of peaceful protest is under attack right now in our country. What are you going to do about it? I'm not asking what are we going to do about it. This is not a vote. This is not a consensus building exercise. This is a personal question. Does it bother you? Then do something about it. If it doesn't bother you, well, then get ready to have every single right that you think you have flushed down the toilet. That's my 2 cents. I'd love to engage you on it. I'm here in the studio every day right around noon, Alaska time. If you'd like to call in, the number is right there on the website, radiofreespeech.com. You can actually click it right there on your iPhone or your Android. I've got those apps available as well, radiofreespeech.com. Thanks.